Thank you everyone for being here on this coaching call, I suppose we'll call it. It's a bit of a talk from me, and I'll open it up to all of you who want to have some coaching. And I'll just mute you out, Annette, if that's okay, just for now, just for the background noise. And I can see Natasha's joined. So if people might continue to join, and if you're watching the replay, of course, welcome to you all as well. So I will just get started now. And for those of you who don't know me, can you all hear me okay? You can, perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nikki Shearer-Byrne, and I'm from Ireland originally, as you probably can tell by the accent. But I live in the Canary Islands on an island called Fuerteventura. You don't need to worry about pronouncing that, okay? So this has been part of my my dream and what I want to create in life, and I'm very much about creating our dreams and our visions. But I understand that obviously the attraction here today is that what I called this talk today is the other side of worry. And why I'm sharing this is because very recently I had a big awakening around worry. And in particular, what that led me to was seeing that worrying. And when I talk about worrying, we could talk about any flavor of overthinking, expectation, just, a lot of judgment or any kind of thinking that's just not very useful for us. Thinking that doesn't make us feel good. We could group under worry as well. Okay. So if worry is not what you would call your sort of flavor of thinking, don't be put off by the word, just add in whatever word comes to you. But more or less, it really needs to be more about the feeling you're having associated to a lot of thinking and that kind of thing. So what I saw was that worry or any kind of thinking like that, and that happens to be my flavor because I've been a worrier all my life. I'm 46 years old and I've always worried. It's just a habit I have. And my mother was a worrier. So this tends to happen when our families are doing the same thing. And I started to see that worry in an instant. I started to see that worry is optional, right? And I was very blessed that on the other side of worry, I actually experienced something very quick, really, that was about 2 minutes long, but actually literally felt like heaven on earth. So I will tell you a little bit more about that story in a few minutes, just to give you the details on it. And I know I've shared a little bit online about it. But just, I want to give you a little bit of a background, and I also want to share with you, just make sure that you're in the right place before we get started too. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of background about my life, just to give you also some hope and just to share with you what's possible when you're on the other side of worry. All right. And I also want to share with you that, even though I had this experience recently and it was, a very sudden thing, it didn't just come from this moment in time. There's been work and an understanding that I've been really grounding in over about the last 8 or 9 years. And beyond that, really, that has really led me to this place. Okay. So hi, Parwinder, welcome. Nice to see you here, love. So yeah, I'm really grateful to be here today, by the way, just because I think this is the first time I've really gotten an idea to share in a long time, in about a year. And the last time I shared an idea, it sort of just took on a life of its own. And, things just come to a point then where they've run their course and there's something new, and it just came out of nowhere, which is lovely. So just so you know, you're in the right place if you are a business owner, because a lot of people that follow me are business owners who are struggling to create clients or income, or you have your clients and your income, but you're burnt out and you're spending too much time worrying about how to make things easier. It's also for you if you have a 9-to-5, which you might not be happy in. So these are some ideas. It's also for you if you're a parent who adores your kids, but wishes to be a more calm, energized parent. It's also for you if you are or you've gone through a divorce or a breakup or multiple breakups or divorces, or if you're dealing with grief, if a loved one has passed, whether that's a partner or a parent or anybody else in your life. And it's also for you if you suffer from any kind of chronic illness or just ailments like aches and pains or anxiety or sleepless nights or just overall discomfort, and you're either frequently or you're too tired to really do the things that you want to do in your life because of your health or your well-being. Okay. And there could be some other reason that you're here. And if it's just literally that you felt drawn to it and you thought, well, this would be interesting, that's great too. So stay on. And it could also be for you if none of these apply, but you just would love to create your vision. Like you might have a vision in life, or you might be unclear of what that vision is. You might feel feeling a bit stuck right now, not really sure where to go. All right. Now, all will be revealed as to why this literally covers every single person here in a moment when I share it with you. So what I'm going to share on this call is my story and how I just stopped worrying, like literally within a moment. I just made a decision and what I saw on the other side of worry. I'm going to be sharing with you what worry is and how it affects our lives. I'm also going to share with you how the other side of worry creates heaven on earth, and that's available for absolutely every single human being, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what you're going through right now or what you've gone through in the past. And it literally can be one moment away. And I will also share with you, just to be transparent, that if anybody here is seeking further support, I will be sharing an opportunity to have that at the end. I don't do sales pitches there or anything like that. I'll just simply be sharing like a one-liner at the end, so that you do know that if you are here and you feel you need more support, there will be one way that's paid and one way that's free. Okay. So let me just share with you a little bit about my life and my story and what I do and why I'm here. And I suppose where to start really is that I'm both a coach and a singer. So I call myself a diva. So you might have heard me talk about divas and divitude and all of this kind of thing. And there's really just this way of living that I've always naturally embodied, because I've been on the stage since I was 4 years of age. My mom used to sort of complain to me, oh, Nicola's up there doing her hair and her makeup while everyone else is downstairs cooking the dinner and cleaning the house, the diva. And of course, we don't mean diva from the negative connotation that many people have around that, the spoiled sort of, wannabe or the spoiled demanding woman. What we're really talking about here is a divine woman or man. It can be a devo too. And a diva as a singer, as I kind of went into becoming a singer and later in life then becoming a coach as well. The diva is somebody who simply takes care of herself and has other people take care of her. And she just sort of shows up from a place of presence, a place of well-being, stands on the stage, opens her mouth and sings and shares her gifts with people. And a diva is not busy trying to do everything else. She's not over pleasing. She's not over giving. She's not, or he, can be for man as well, obviously. She's not trying to do all the things. She's not constantly worrying and in bad vibration. She's in a high vibration. People are very magnetized, and all the things like the money and the love and the home and all of the things that you want to create tend to just come very magnetically and easily to the diva. So think of your favorite diva or divo. It can be a man or a woman, an actor or an actress, somebody who's healthy, not somebody who's on drugs or something like that, who you can see who's a good person to look up to and see how, really they've got people taking care of them. They're not concerned with doing all of these things. So when we are busy, like outside of ourselves, usually that means it's coming from inside, because we're often very busy inside in our minds, in our heads, and it manifests outside that we become very busy outside too. So as I got older, I had a spiritual awakening, which was a really overnight kind of thing about 17 years ago. And, I came from a typical Irish background. I had sort of middle-class parents, and we had everything we needed. We went on holidays to Spain every year. I went to university. I studied dentistry. I had a job. I had a 9 to 5. I did the rat race. I went to work every day. And then, like a typical Irish person, I went out every weekend with my friends and drank loads of alcohol and smoked cigarettes and went into parties and all of that kind of thing. And that was my life until I was 30 years of age, right? More or less, by 28, 29 years of age. And then something happened that brought me to a beach on Thailand, which I had no idea what it was. I just thought it was a nice place. And I ended up staying in this hub of spirituality for 2 years. And about 6 months into my my journey there, I had a spiritual awakening where it was just something that happened in a moment, in a flash, where I just started to see what life was about, the true nature of who I am. And I've spent the rest of my days since then really dedicated to that growth and that spiritual journey, and dedicated to helping others to also live in this way. Taking my divitude and then also taking this enlightened experience and taking it and bringing it to people to help them to see truth. And so I'm not without my share of troubles. I actually have had a divorce, which was a very messy divorce that spanned over 3 different countries. I was in a very messy legal case for the last 3 years. Of course, the pandemic hit like everyone else as well. And in the middle of it all, though, despite the pain and the hardship and the things that happened, I not only, prior to that had manifested and created my dream life, which was to live on an island, which I now do since 7 years in Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands, right beside the beach. But during the time of my divorce, I manifested this version of my coaching business, which was originally sort of like a marketing agency to help coaches to grow their businesses. And then having seen that that's not really where it's at. It's not about external things. It's all about internal, how we are on the inside, that I decided to just go full into this kind of work. So I was 1 month into this work when I suddenly broke up with my daughter's father, and was accused of international child abduction when I tried to take her home to Fuerteventura, because we broke up in his family's home in Italy, and had the police knocking at my door and all sorts of things like this, which was very, very scary because I had never experienced anything like this in my entire life. And 1 month into our breakup, I created, as a single mother with a 1-month-old business, a house on Millionaires Row, which was, and I was living on a credit card at that stage, which was the street that I had wanted to live on for the past 4 years. And I had been talking about it. And even though my ex was saying, "You'll never live there, we'll never live there, not a chance, not a hope," I created that during the biggest crisis of my life. Since then, I have created my twin flame. I have attracted my twin flame, my true north, my lifetime partner into my life. I'm still working on that right now. And I have also managed to get rid of just 20 years of pain in my body and 20 years of a hereditary disease that's incurable, that I've been told is incurable by every doctor I've ever met. It's called endometriosis. It's like a disease of the womb. It completely disappeared. Pain that I had, which was in the form of sciatica in both of my legs, which left me literally immobile. Like I literally couldn't walk. I couldn't go on a bicycle. I couldn't exercise. And then the latest thing has been that a new law came in, and the trial that I was supposed to be tried for has been dropped, and there has been peace between myself and my daughter's father. So I'm in a very good place in my life right now. It's not to say that that's where I've always been, and and I am very blessed that I have had a wonderful life, but none of us are without our problems, our external problems that we worry about. So to cut a long story short, the reason I came to bring this call to you all was because I have been also in an understanding and a conversation that I've been grounding in an understanding of where our experience of life is coming coming from, which I'll share a little bit more with you in a while, which is really about our thinking, about that it all comes from thought. Everything we think, we create. So if we're thinking terrible thoughts, we tend to create lots of terrible stuff. And if we're thinking really nice, positive things, and we're dreaming about our, you know, our house on our dream street, even when somebody's saying you can't have it, even when you're going through a divorce, life is supporting us all the time if we continue to focus on these wonderful things. So what gets in our way every single time from creating that is our habit of misusing thought, really. Our habit as human beings, which is very innocent, which all of us do, of just using thought in a way that tends not to help us, that tends not to be creative. It tends to be old programming, like running a computer program around and around and around and expecting something to change, and it doesn't. So although I've been in this understanding for the last 9 years, I innocently, as a human being, like all of us do, sort of divided my life into boxes. It was like, well, there's this relationship problem over here. I'll deal with that and I'll solve that. And then there was the work situation over here. I'll deal with that and I'll solve that. And then there's a problem with money and I'll deal with that and I'll solve that. So what I saw happening over the last number of years, and as I've been coaching my clients with this too, is that my mind would solve one thing and, you know, life would fix that problem, but then naturally something else would materialize in another area. And it turns out I've also realized that I'm just a worrier. So when I'm tired, when I haven't had a good night's sleep, or when something gets triggered in my life, you know, something happens that's just upsetting, which happens all the time, or we get sick or whatever it might be, I noticed that my mind has a tendency to just jump from one thought to another. And I've started to observe how my mind is simply going from, I could be lying in bed at night and it's thinking about my relationship, and then I'll go, oh, I don't want to think about that now. And then I'll go to start worrying about money, and then I'll start worrying about my health, and all of these things start coming up. So my habit is just to simply worry about everything. Now, the understanding that I am grounded in and that I share with people shares that there really isn't, you know, as humans, we innocently look at these different areas of, you know, here's a relationship, here's the money, here's the health, here's the business, all of the different things. But really, what we're experiencing when we're experiencing low feelings in any area of our life is simply the feelings that are being conjured by the thinking that we're having in relation to that. So really, all that's happening is that collectively, there is either a misuse of thought that makes us feel bad, which can be about anything at all. So we innocently start to make it look like we have to deal with things individually. But in fact, if we can see that everything is coming from thought, then there's really just one thing to drop, and that is unhelpful thinking. And I was calling that worry, right? So again, I want you to be clear that you can call this anything you like, whatever flavor of worry it is for you, okay? And a few weeks ago, I was listening to my coach, Grace. I think some of you may know her here, and some of you who have signed up for the replay as well might know her. And I was listening to a program that she had created, a workshop that she created, a replay called something like Be Less Busy. And it was all about just looking at how our mind is busy. And even if we're not worrying, it's just busy. It's thinking about the next thing, right? And when we're thinking about the next thing, we're not present. When we're present, we have a very settled state of mind that really brings in more intelligent thinking that comes from this moment, that's fresh, that's creative, that contributes towards creating our dreams, right? And so I heard her say something about weight. And I had this memory of how about 10 years ago or more, before I even knew about this understanding, I suddenly had this idea. And I thought, if I was lying on my deathbed right now, my biggest regret in my life would be all the time I have spent worrying about my weight. because as a young woman, up until about 35, from the age of about 14, I just constantly worried about how I looked. My mom sent me down to Weight Watchers when I was 16. I wasn't even fat. It was like, obviously, again, one of her things. I was brought up in the 90s where there was all these stick insect size 0 models, and I am not a skinny girl. Like I curves, and it was just a different body type, but nobody explained that to me. I thought I had to be skinny because that's what was popular at the time. And I went through times where I starved myself and I was constantly on diets. And every time I would walk by, I was living in Dublin, every time I'd walk by a shop window, I was trying to look at myself in the window. And when you walk and your bum kind of raises up in the air, I thought I was fat. And I realized that it's just a muscle that moves. Like, that's how completely anxious and constantly worried about that particular topic I was. I did have a short bout of bulimia, taking laxatives, all of that kind of stuff, doing absolutely anything to be thin. And one day it just dawned on me, and I just thought, I'm just not doing this anymore. I'm just not going to think about being fat anymore. It's just such a waste of time and space. There's better things in life to be thinking about. And for some reason, and even though I wasn't in this understanding, and that's why I'm bringing this to you today, because you don't have to be in any understanding. You're human. So as long as you're human, this can happen to you. You're one thought away from a whole new experience. And that thought for me 10 years ago or so dropped the thinking around weight. And for some reason, once I did that and my mind was no longer full of all of that, I was able to relax. And I just settled into a natural, healthy body weight. And I'm actually I'm not skinny, or I don't look in the mirror and think, wow, I have such a great figure, but I'm very comfortable with my body. I actually had a couple of boudoir photo shoots done in my 40s, like a couple of years ago or last year, just to celebrate how good I feel. I've had a baby, so it's even changed again, my body. And I've somehow naturally just settled into intuitive eating, just eating healthy, eating whatever feels good for me without having to follow any diets. All of that just went out the window immediately. So that was a couple of days ago. I had that memory of what happened 10 years ago as I listened to Grace. And then somehow I fell into some worry for a few days. And I've learned that if I'm caught up with worry, that there's no point in trying to get yourself out of it by analyzing it or thinking about it more, because all you're actually doing is just staying over there with all of that worry. So I just decided, look, I know it's just like weather passing through. I'm just going to let it pass. All I wanted to do, I just thought, what could I do to feel better right now? And all I wanted to do was sit in bed and watch Netflix and eat chocolate coated peanuts. And I didn't care how many calories are in them. I didn't care that, that seemed like a waste of a day. I just thought that's what I needed to do to feel better. And that's what I did until 3 o'clock. I had to go and pick up my daughter from school. So I'm a single mom. And I brought my daughter home from school and I still didn't feel very well. And she kept saying, Mom, will you play with me? Will you play with me? And I was just not feeling it at all. I just was down and I was still in my head and I didn't realize it, because we get very caught up with our thinking and we believe everything we're feeling and thinking in those times. But she turned around to me at one point and I was in the kitchen about 5 o'clock in the evening and she said to me, Mom, she's 5, you worry too much. Right? And this is the thing about wisdom. It finds a way to us, even when we're caught up with the worst thing that we think. We think it's the worst problem ever, but it's just thought passing through all the time. And I thought, this is interesting that my 5-year-old daughter is saying this to me. And I said to her, really? I said, Stella, why do you say that? And she said, you're not paying any attention to me. You're not playing with me today. And I said, yeah, I don't really want to play. And she goes, yeah, but she said, you're just thinking about stuff. You don't need to be thinking about stuff. You could just come over here and play with me. And I thought, right, okay. And she goes, you can just stop worrying, And I said, can I? I said, how do I do that? And she said, just do things that you like. Right. And the funny thing is, like, for the last God knows how many years, all I tell people is, people call me the pleasure diva, because all I tell people is just do things you enjoy. And when you do things you enjoy, you raise your vibration, you feel better, and then things are better and you get better quality thinking. And of course, here's my little daughter reminding me of that. So that was the first thing. And then I didn't really do much about it. And I went into the garden and I just thought, well, I'll go and sit in the garden because there's a last hour of sunshine. I don't want to feel I've wasted the whole day in bed. And I sat down and I have a book that I've been reading literally for the last probably 15 years. It's all frayed and everything. Doesn't really matter too much what the book is. It's on the laws of spiritual laws, but just took it out and I opened it. It happened to be on the page of the law of frequency, although I don't really think that's even anything significant. And I'm reading the book and my daughter kept saying to me, I want to play with those kids, but they don't speak my language. And I said, go and play with them. I was in a bad mood because I was just like, stop disturbing me. I'm in my worry thoughts, And she said, so next thing I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and she's playing at how grand she's playing. And I was only on about the third line of the book. And I wasn't even really paying it that much attention to it. And next thing I heard a voice in my head. And when you hear a voice, and even though it's your voice, it was my voice. But when you hear a voice, but it's not you, it's something bigger than you. It literally felt like the voice of God to me. And all it said was, what would happen if you just stopped worrying? Right? Now, of course, immediately what you think to do is I'll get my journal out and I'll write down all the things that would happen if I just stopped worrying. But what actually happened next was nothing short of a miracle. What happened next was I looked up and I saw my daughter communicating with these little French kids that didn't speak her language. There was the most beautiful sunset, which we very rarely get because I live on the East Coast, and the sky was just blazing red. There's all these bougainvillea outside and they're orange, and my bougainvillea actually haven't been growing very well for the last 3 years that I've been living here, and they just blazed. There was a woman walked by and she just dyed her hair red, and her hair was the reddest red you ever saw in your life. And I just got completely present. Every single thought that I had been going around in my head for 3 days, which I couldn't even tell you what they were right now, no recollection whatsoever, just worrying, just misuse of thought, just disappeared. And for about 2 minutes, I was in heaven. It literally was heaven on earth. And then my neighbor next door started talking, and I got back into normal life again. And I pondered about it and I thought, wow, that's what happens when you just stop worrying. And as I had a little think about it later on, I thought, well, I chose to just stop worrying about my weight, and I did. And look what happened, my body. And look what happened, my mindset about my body. And now what I'm seeing on a deeper level is that all worry, no matter what the topic is about, can just be stopped. It's completely optional. And what's on the other side of it, what I was given was this gift from God. And, you can choose whatever word you want to replace God. I believe in God. It's the word I use. I was given this gift from God that for me was just like, well, here you go, Nikki. This is what's on the other side of worry. And it's now just so clear to me, like, why would I ever even consider worrying again? Now, I am human, right? And I also want to share something else with you, because that's like not long ago, just a few weeks ago. And since then, I found myself going back to the habit of worry again. And I was in the middle of the night and I was thinking about something and I wanted to check my phone, and then I just caught myself and I started laughing. And it was just like, well, sure, why would I start, going into that again? That's silly, when it's heaven and earth, so much nicer to be in this lovely space without worry. And just popped it off. And I kept doing that all week. And then my beautiful twin flame, my partner, had a freak out during the week and decided he was leaving me. So I had a breakup, right? Which is not really a breakup, because a twin flame never breaks up. And I can see that he was in his worry, and I was able to get him present and understand that it wasn't about breaking up. It was about him having some space to get some things in place so that he can support me. So I've let him go temporarily, but it's not forever. But at the same time, having a breakup from the person that you love more than anything in the world and that loves you was devastating. And I cried for a day. I did all of the things that anyone would do during a breakup. But at the same time, I came out the other side and remembered that I've chosen not to worry anymore. And so worrying's not going to do anything for me. And as I've chosen not to worry, all of the things I need to help me to create what I need to create to support him, for him to come back, for income to come in, for clients to come in, for piece in my my relationship with my daughter's father, this miracle of this court case just being completely abolished. All of this has happened because when you're not worrying and when you're not caught up in all of that thinking, you see all the miracles that are already around you. They're always there. You're being supported all the time. And really the only thing that can get in our way is our choice as to whether we want to focus on worry and unuseful thinking, or on just being present, doing things like watching our sunsets or playing with our children, or whatever your thing is that you enjoy doing. And we've been very conditioned in life that things should be hard, you know, and that life is hard and you're supposed to slog it and it's not supposed to be easy and it shouldn't be pleasurable. But I've seen a very different way of living. And, you know, and thankfully I am a diva, so it's kind of always been like that for me. Like I've always had a cleaning lady. I've always had somebody help me with my child. I've always had people help me with my business, with my band and all of that kind of stuff. But as I've worked with a lot of clients over the years, I've realized not everybody's like that, right? So, you know, that's something I help people with. But at the same time, it's just knowing that actually our true state is abundance. Our true state is to feel good. Our true state and our true way of living is to do things that make us feel good. So all of the things that come from any lower quality thinking that we create from there, like when we're thinking things like, well, I have to get up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. and get on a train to a job I hate. That's optional because we're in control. We're in control from the point of view we have a gear stick in the form of thinking, and we can look at that and go, well, I've created that from what I'm thinking. When we look at these things, we can look at it going, well, actually maybe we've created these things because we've been thinking this is what it should be. And it's innocent. I want you to know that. Like, this is just the way we've learned. Nobody has told us anything else. Nobody said to us, hey, everybody, come on, you can all be divas and just go out and eat all the food you want to eat and live on islands and, you know, follow the dreams you have. We've been taught by life that it should be hard and we have to knuckle down and we have to slog it and all of these kind of things. So I just invite you to see that it's not even that you have to get ducks in a row, or that you have to be a diva, or that you have to live this wonderful life, or that you have to have this understanding that every single person here, whether you're living in a war zone or whether you're living the most privileged life that you can think of, everyone has worries, everyone has problems, things that they put their attention to and focus on and use thought in a way that's not helpful. And what I want you to know, and what I'd love you to help you to at least see a glimpse of today, is that you are just literally one thought away from an entire new reality. Your whole world can shift from hell to heaven with a split second, just from thought, Okay. So I know it's a little bit of a long story there, but because I wanted to honor that there's not that many people here that know me today, which is wonderful because it's nice to see so many new faces. And I just want to open it up to you all now. So if anyone would like to ask a question, share a worry, you can have coaching with me if you have a problem, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, or if there's any insight or anything that's coming to you, or indeed if there's any resistance around anything I'm sharing coming to you, please just, because there's just a few of you here, just feel free to unmute yourself and come on. And Annette, I think, wants to speak. So go ahead, Annette, you can just unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, I love that that part of all your journey. Yeah, it resonates with me a lot. I'm wondering, I've had lots of financial worry recently. My regular income has dropped off, it's dipped, there's not as much coming in as usual. Do you have a technique where you can quickly switch from worry and fear into calm and abundant thoughts? Do you have a technique, or
Yeah, I
Just
mean, there's
program
lots of
yourself.
useful tools that we can use, and I like to keep things very simple.
Hmm.
So what I'm hearing you say is that, you know, that you'd love to just be able to switch yourself from worry to not worrying, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing is to notice if you're worrying. And again, I want to be clear that worry can be anything that's a lower quality thought, okay, or a series of low quality thoughts, because worry is just one word for that. It can be fear, it can be anxiety, it can be whatever. Now, the way to notice that, and I call this a love letter from God, okay, because we often think that when we have an indicator, so there could be something that you're doing, the way that you're acting, or something that's happening in your life or in your body that denotes to you that you're in a lot of low quality thinking. So it could be, for me, when I worry a lot, I get anxiety and I feel it in my stomach. My stomach just bloats. Like I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. And literally the minute I stop the worry, my stomach goes flat again. And over the years, I've had chronic stuff, because when we don't pay attention to it, it can build up. So another thing that can happen is like when you're waking up at night or you're not sleeping, right? So what do you feel is a really prime indicator that stands out to you that denotes that you're not using your thinking in a useful way, that you're worrying, or that you're in lower quality thinking? Is it the not sleeping, or is there anything else that you notice?
Yeah, mainly not so much at the moment, but recently it's been waking up in the night over and over again, imagining the worst and just assuming that that's going to happen, which is all completely ridiculous, isn't it? You just imagine the worst. So I don't want to manifest the worst, but you imagine the worst case scenario. So that's where I'm at, really, where I've had odd nights where I'm waking up thinking, and just seeing the worst outcome. In the morning, it's much calmer. I have the, walk in nature. I've got sage that I burn. I have techniques that I use, but it has lifted a lot recently. But I'm surprised if you had I mean, everyone's different, aren't they? We have our own way of doing it, but everyone on the call must have at some point some fearful worries that pop up, and it'd be just to know how they get rid of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, tools are useful, but the thing about tools is we have to rely on something external from ourselves. So the understanding that I share is that, you know, we all have consciousness. We're all conscious, right? And so if you have a level of awareness of when you are in lower quality thinking, as soon as you actually notice you are, there's a bit of space created. So I'm going to show you something here. I used to have a little tiny snow globe and everyone was laughing at me. So me and my daughter made a new one. This represents your mind, right? Can you all see that? Most people's minds look like that. That's your thinking going around. So imagine at nighttime going around. Now, as soon as you notice that, you know, I'm not sleeping, and the only reason I'm not sleeping is because there's a lot of thinking going around. It's not like, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking? Because if you think, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking? What am I thinking? It's going to just keep you in this, right? So as soon as you just simply notice, so your level of awareness, like it's a habit. We're all in the habit of worrying, overthinking, using our thinking in negative ways, old programs, old conditions coming up, right? And as soon as you actually notice that, and it might be that it's going on for 3 days like it was for me, which doesn't happen that often anymore for me because I got used to kind of hanging out in a better space, but it could even be happening for years and you don't notice, or it might just be for a few minutes. But as soon as you just notice, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking a load of stuff. That's why I'm awake. There's nothing, it never is anything else. Any indicator you have a headache, disease, mental illness, which I'm doing this because really we're all mentally ill, because we're not mentally ill, but we're all actually mentally sane. We all have good mental health, because actually when we feel like we're mad, it's an indicator. It's telling us. And if we're aware of that, we get this settlement, which is space. When there's space, there's room for wisdom to come through. You start to see the stuff that's already there. You know, God will send a message. It'll say, go back to sleep, or it'll just make you tired enough to go back to sleep, or it'll say, get up and make a cup of chamomile tea or a cup of milk. It'll do, or take deep breaths. You'll know what to do from a settled mind. So the only thing you ever have to do is have an awareness. And so when you dedicate, really, I suppose, or commit yourself to just simply, I've committed myself to noticing when I'm in lower quality thinking. And instead of seeing it as, oh my God, I've got a pain in my back, or oh my God, I've got a big bloated belly, what am I going to do about it? Now I've realized, because 20 years of sciatica, 20 years of endometriosis disappeared when I started to get into this understanding and spend less time worrying. That's not a coincidence. Now I see that every single piece of discomfort comes from our thinking. Some of it's chronic because some people are chronically thinking and worrying, which was my story, right? But when you notice it, it's actually, instead of us going, oh my God, my stomach exploded, oh my God, I'm not sleeping, we go, oh, thank you, God, for giving me an alarm bell that's just alerted me to the fact that I've been misusing my thinking, right? And what you share about them when you get up in the morning and you go into nature, if that's your thing that keeps you in that settled state of mind, again, that's life supporting you, sending you nature, sending you the option to do that, sending you the idea to do that. And that's the key to it. Do the things that make you feel good, because when you feel good, you know you're not in a busy mind. And if you do things that make you feel good all the time, then you get to use your thinking for things that are just more interesting, that create stuff. You get to use your imagination in a useful way, in a creative way, where you can go out and make nice plans and do all of that. And the universe will support you in that. It's law of attraction. Law of attraction is happening all the time. And what you put your focus on grows. So when you see heaven on earth, even if it's just a glimpse, you know, pay attention to that and keep going in that direction. And when you feel uncomfortable, your job is to just notice and nothing more. And you'll know what to do next. Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you. The observer of our thoughts is definitely the way forward. So it's nice for you to confirm that, because yeah, I'm understanding, open to that. So having heard you say that, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I hope it's helpful. Would anyone else like to ask anything or share anything or whatever? You can just unmute yourself, and if you don't have to come on camera if you don't feel comfortable. There's no pressure. You can see Angelia's here, Natasha, Parwinder.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Angelia. Yes, we can. Thank you so much for being here. It's lovely to see you. Lovely to hear you anyway, please.
Nice to see you. Yeah, it's been much better these days, not thinking as much. However, when it does happen, it's very hard to get out of it at that moment. But I'm catching myself more and more, and I'm starting to realize more about the thoughts. And one of the things that I've learned is give away the thoughts. Don't even engage in it. Don't entertain it. And find something good to look at, and distract yourself. To distract yourself, I find it so much easier on some level, even though there are times when you're so caught up. I mean, you're so caught up that you forget even to do that. So I think it becomes, we have these habits, and the habits is what we're trying to get out of, the old and habits. And that's what I'm working on still, getting rid of the old habits, because this is you think about how many years we've learned these bad habits, and it takes a long time to sometimes, well, not, I wouldn't say, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just saying sometimes it takes a little longer. It depends on the person. So, some people can catch it much quicker than others, but I think that's the key for me, is to catch them. So,
I love that, Angelia. Thank you for sharing that. And one thing I would just say to you is that I think it's the thing that you said at the very start. You know, maybe two things here. One is, you know, it can look like it's taken a lifetime to create this habit, so it's going to take a long time, but it doesn't really work like that, because time is not linear. We think it is, but really, like, we literally can quantum leap. As I said, you know, one thought and I just stopped worrying, one thought and I just stopped worrying about my weight, and it changes your whole reality. So you really are just one thought away. And the second thing is just what you shared about how it can be really hard to catch yourself or to get out of it when you're in it. Yeah, that's true. But I would look at when you're in a better space, and this is for everyone here, when you're not in it, I think the key here would be also to look at that. So what? So what if it's hard to get out of it, right? Like, what's so bad? Another way of saying it is, what's so bad with being in it? Because even when we're not in it and we're like going, oh no, I don't want to be in that again, or it's so hard to be in it, or when we are in it, it's really hard to be in it. What I'd like you to see here is that, you know, we're just, all it is that we're kind of just scared of our own thinking. It's just thought. There's nothing happening to us, right? We're just literally scaring ourselves with our thoughts. And we really believe it, and I get that. But when you have an understanding like this, you know that it's just thought, even if it is scary, sometimes the case of, yeah, well, I feel crap, but all I'm going to do is whatever I can right now, if that means going to bed and watching Netflix and eating chocolate coated peanuts. You know, it's not going anywhere, it's weather, right? And sometimes external things can create it, sometimes it's all internal, it just depends. It's not going anywhere, but the more we try to get out of it, the longer we stay in it. So there isn't really any trying to get out of it, right? It's literally just be in it and be okay with it. And one little tool actually that's helpful is also just, right, I don't feel good right now. What is one thing I could do right now? What is one thing that I could choose out of every single thing that I could do right now just to feel even marginally better? And if that is literally just watching Netflix or taking 10 deep breaths, you know, you can do that too. You can look at that. You can ask the universe, send me one thing, give me an idea. It could be looking at a painting on your wall and just absorbing yourself in it and analyzing it, or whatever it is. But there's always something better than what you're currently experiencing. Does that help, Angelia?
yes. And what I've noticed lately, I've been watching superheroes to kind of get out of it and say, yay, you know, it's like, so it sometimes watching something that is positive, or just going out to nature, or, you know, just taking a walk, it really does help. And also, for me, I know it's also calling friends and having deep conversations about just spiritual stuff or whatever. It really helps. So that's what I've noticed lately that I've been doing, and it's helping me a lot.
That's wonderful. Yeah, any conversations that's truth is always worth doing. I often say to my clients, just listen to recordings from old calls we've had, or listen to recordings from some of our teachers that we look at. Anything where we're just sharing truth, like this is a conversation of truth. We're not going into all the, you know, it's easy. And sometimes we do just need a sounding board to get clear. And sometimes we do just need to get things off our chest, but it's not always very helpful. And I used to do it years ago, to just call people up and just talk all about your problems, because you can just feel worse, you know, we're indulging in it, we're staying over there with that, and we're keeping that snow globe going around, you know. But yeah, one way that I find really helpful, and you can do it at any time, no matter if it's the middle of the night or wherever you are, you can just throw on one of your recordings of truth, or have a conversation if you're lucky enough to have pet friends on the other end of the phone that you can have those conversations with. Angelia, yeah, that's brilliant.
I noticed there's a book that I started reading on love, about love. So that really helped too, you know, just kind of reading about love and what that really is. And it really helped for me to get it, but more in my heart, you know?
Beautiful. And that's another way of putting it as well. It's like living from your heart rather than your head, right? Your wisdom lives in your heart, and your head is just full of junk a lot of the time, so yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's so nice to have you here. So nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So I mean, we have a little more time if any. I've had this call just until 1:15 in case we needed to go over the hour. So we do have more time if Parwinder or Natasha or both of you would like to speak. You can just let me know, or you can just unmute yourselves. I think Natasha said she was driving or something, so I'm not sure if she can come on. Okay. Oh, she's just leave the camera off. So, oh, getting a message here. Thanks very much. Love listening to you. Need to go now. Okay, no problem, Natasha. Thank you so much for being here. And Parwinder, did you want to share anything, or are you there?
I am here, yes. I'm listening. I'm just practicing listening. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. It's been good, and I just I don't know if I just realised or I knew before that everything had kind of completed with the whole thing with your Stella's dad. So that's interesting. Energy shift.
Yes.
That and the lightness of that, and witnessing that with you.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I held, that was a desire of mine, was to have peace in my family. And even though like it looked as though we could have been the worst, and like from the outside looking in, and even what was realizing in reality, manifesting in reality, was like, it really was like, the worst of enemies. Like he didn't talk to me. He had me going through a trial. He was like, wouldn't look me in the eye. And something just happened last summer. Stella fell down, and I called him because he's my family here. Like there's no one else that I would call. He's Stella's dad. And I don't know what happened, but something shifted, that he just started to look in my eyes and connect with me again. And all of this stuff fell away, and I just kept going in the direction of I would like peace, and I stopped allowing any thinking around that was not for our highest good, that was not peaceful, drop away. Every time, this thinking would come along, like he's bad, he's a narcissist, he's all these things that people were telling me, I just quietened it, and I just kept going in that direction. And as a result, not only have we got peace, but this other miracle has happened where this new law has come in. I mean, I should have been going through a trial for it could be going on for 20 years where we appeal it and everything, and it's costing a fortune. And now there's just this change in law that they just decided, well, there's so many cases outstanding because of the pandemic, we just want to get rid of it. So you can just put in this thing and together, and you just stamp it and sign it, and it's all over. I mean, who would have ever expected that? You know what I mean? Like that's just like, wow. And it only takes one person to shift your consciousness in all of our relationships. And, this is where we really do have an influence on the world around us. I didn't go to the legal system in Italy and tell them you should change your law. That wasn't anything to do with me, but there's something that I was doing that was aligning all of this. And there was a deep knowing in me that this would never go anywhere, because I didn't do anything anyway, but there was a deep knowing in me that this would never really go anywhere. But it was just such a beautiful relief. And yeah, like these are the kind of things that I've seen happen. And I tend to write down these things that happen, because again, what you put your focus on grows. So every time I put down, so rather than putting my attention to the problem, I'm putting my attention on all the wonderful little miracles that happen every day, that are happening all the time. And as I focus on those miracles and write them, I feel that every day I have more and more and more miracles to write down. And the miracles get bigger, like they become more like, what's the word? They're just bigger miracles. They're not like little things anymore. Like it used to be kind of like, oh, I'd like to get a new purse, and then a purse would arrive in front of my eyes somewhere. And now it's things like a whole court case has just been dropped. Like, hello, you know what I mean? Or, I was kind of like, my business wasn't going very well last year, which was the only year in 17 years. There wasn't great money coming in. And then all of a sudden my dad had died, and my sister said, look, we're going to give you the inheritance now, and here you go. And and it paid for all my legal fees. And then something in my wisdom said, don't pay all the legal fees. And now I've just been told I don't need to pay the rest of them because, and I was kind of going, oh God, all this money is going on legal fees, but actually now I don't need to pay them. So like, there's just bigger and bigger and bigger miracles coming to fruition all the time in front of my eyes. And it's just down to like, just worry is just optional. It really is completely optional. We just don't know it because it's our habit.
Yeah.
It's just our habit.
We're so in it and so close to it.
We're so close to it. We're so used to it. It's what everyone does. It's what's normal. And, despite what's going on externally, despite what people are saying, if we just commit to that, like, I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel better. And it's okay to feel better. Natural to feel good. We're supposed to feel good. We're not supposed to feel bad. We're not supposed to grind and slog and go through hardships. That's not how creation works. Creation doesn't create trees that, all end up like being ugly trees or sick trees. It can happen sometimes, but most trees just grow, right? Or, the other thing is like we have this free will that plants and animals don't have. So we misuse that free will by turning to the worry. And the way I see that, and I just wrote a little book about this, actually, if anybody would like it, let me know. It was like an 11-page little parable. And if the sun is creation, the trees and the flowers follow the sun, because they know that that's the energy source that helps them create. They follow the good feeling. They don't go, oh, hang on a second, the sun is over there, but I'm just going to go over here. I'm just going to hang over here where there's no sun. Like no other animal or bird or insect or plant or flower or tree would do that. But us innocently as humans have a tendency, because of how we've just been conditioned, to go over there where the sun is not shining. Right. And it's become the norm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I hope that's been helpful for everyone. And if anyone's watching the replay, as I said at the start, I'll just share with you briefly how, if this has been interesting for you, if it just feels like something that resonates and you'd like to explore this further, there's 2 ways you can do that right now. I've opened up a new Facebook group to support this topic, and it's called The Other Side of Worry. I'll send it in an email, but for those of you who are here live, I'll also put the link into the chat box so you can see it. You do need to click on it now, though, otherwise when the call is over, it'll disappear. But I will send it in an email because I have all of your email addresses that if you've signed up for this. So that's the Facebook group. And it's just a free support group, and I'll be in there sharing and doing videos and more stuff. It's just a new group that I've just opened. So there's not many people in there yet. And then the second thing is that I've opened up some spaces, 10 spaces, for a call that I'm calling Heaven on Earth. So it gives you an opportunity to explore this one-on-one with me, and actually go into your particular problem or area of worry or whatever comes up for you, and help you to get to that heaven on earth that I got to in my experience when I was sitting outside looking at the sunshine, even if it's just for a glimpse at the sunset, rather. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm going to give you another little link for that as well. I normally charge €333 for a 1-hour call with me, a coaching one-on-one call. So I'm giving 10 of those away at a third of the price, at €111. And I have a link where you can just click and book it and pay for it and everything. And you have to put a discount code in. So I'm just copying and pasting those details here as well. But again, I will send them to you. Oh, hang on, that's the wrong one. I will also send those to you in an email, so you'll have the details. There will be 10 of those available with the code. The discount code is HEAVEN. So the details again are there in the chat box, if you have a look at the chat box, and then you can also click on the scheduler, or you can copy and paste whatever's there in the chat box. But if you're unsure, you can email me on nikki@stepintoyourstardom.com, or you can get me on my Facebook Messenger, but also check your emails. I'll send these details over. And so it'll just be the first 10 people that use that link with Heaven. And then what will happen is it will run out after 10 people have used it. So you'll get it at 111. And then you can still book it after that if you want to, but it'll be full price. It'll be 333. So it's called Heaven on Earth. And the idea behind this session is, you know, usually it's about an hour long, that you get to experience heaven on earth, that you come to that call and you leave with a sense of heaven on earth, and that you can go back out into your life embodying that feeling of heaven on earth and seeing where it's coming from. And then you can choose to make a decision as to whether you want to continue worrying or just, you know, have this insight and this embodiment feeling of that's optional. This is much nicer. I can choose to be in this feeling more often, right? So that's what's available for you to support you further. And if anyone has any questions, of course, as well, you can ask me questions. So just get to me on Messenger or with my email address. I'll give you that as well. It's Nikki. I think you all have it actually at Step Into Your Stardom. Okay. So thank you so much. And for anyone watching the replay as well, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And then, as I say, I'll also send the replay in the email, and I'll send those details of how you can have further support. Okay. Thanks again for everyone for being here. Really enjoyed the call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelia. Thank you, Parwinder, and everyone else that was here. Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.